Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So as you know, it's Ixalan week this week, which means we got one more sweet new Ixalan influenced standard deck to talk about today, and this is a deck, I'm calling it Dinos and Snakes. This is basically a new updated build of Green-Black Constrictor, the Green-Black Snake deck, that's taking advantage of some sweet new cards from Ixalan, really massive changes, almost feels like a new deck. While some of the synergies from the old Green-Black Constrictor deck remain, we get a lot of new stuff too, which is pretty spicy. So this one comes to us from Charlene, who took it to a 5-0 finish in a competitive standard league on Magic Online. So congrats to Charlene on a super sweet deck. A quick reminder before we break down Dinos and Snakes for standard. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Dinos and Snakes starts out looking a lot like the old Green-Black Constrictor decks, with 4 Winding Constrictors in the 2-drop slots. You probably know what this one does by now. If we put a counter on something, we get an extra counter on it, which means we have some sweet counter stuff. So Walking Ballista with a Snake, just super powerful. If we play it for 2 mana, it comes in as a 2/2 with the extra counter. Then every time we pay 4 mana, we get 2 counters instead of 1. So really spirals out of control super quickly. Rishkar, kind of the nut draw with Winding Constrictor. Play Constrictor on 2. On 3, we Rishkar, put a counter on Rishkar and Winding Constrictor. They both have 4 power. They can tap for mana, but mostly they're just big, huge, above the curve creatures thanks to the counter, in this case, doubling power of Winding Constrictor. And then the biggest baddest payoff is Verdurous Gearhulk, which is just absolutely insane with Winding Constrictor. Not only is it a 4/4 trample for 5, but with the counters, we're essentially putting 8 counters on things thanks to Winding Constrictor. If we can spread them around to a bunch of different creatures, we can also just dump them all on Walking Ballista, make it huge, ping our opponent in the face. But we don't want to talk too much about this, because you know this package, you know what this does. Winding Constrictor with Ballista and Rishkar and Verdurous Gearhulk. This has been a thing in Standard for a long time. So this is the snake part of the deck. But then, where things get a little bit crazy is the next part of the deck, where we get into the dinosaurs. So we have a few different options. A couple of Deathgorge Scavenger, and mostly just a good value card, able to gain us a bit of life against Ramen on Bread, Hate on the Graveyard. Not a bad 3-drop, a little bit like Kitchen Finks in some ways, although not quite as good as that. Ranging Raptor is super interesting because of the Enrage ability, which means if we chump with it, we're able to get a land out of our deck. It like ramp it grows us. More exciting is the fact that we can just ping it with our own Walking Ballista to ramp a couple times in the same turn, which gets us up to our big stuff really fast. Speaking of Walking Ballista shenanigans, we can kind of do the same thing with Ripjaw Raptor. If we're doubling up the counters on our Walking Ballista, we can just keep pinging our Ripjaw Raptor to keep drawing cards, and finding more snakes, finding more dinosaurs, finding more removal, whatever we happen to need, just brute force card draw our way to victory. Plus, Ripjaw Raptor is just pretty above the curve as a 4/5 for 4 mana anyway. So that's kind of the creature base. We got the +1/+1 counter snake stuff. We got the big dinosaur stuff. Then we rounded out with Kite Sail Freebooter, a pirate sneaking into the snake and dino deck. But basically, it's just a duress on a stick. We're able to put counters on it, which makes it better than an actual duress in our main deck, because we really want things that can wear a Rishkar counter, that we can put Verdurous Gearhulk counters on. And when you consider like Winding Constrictor, Verdurous Gearhulk dumping counters, there's a decent chance that Kite Sail ends up being a pretty big flying threat. It can easily be like a 3/4 beating down in the air, which is a decent way to close out the game. Gets rid of removal spells or sweepers or planeswalkers out of our opponent's hand. So just a nice value play there. As far as the rest of our deck, we get a bunch of removal. Savage Stomp is really interesting. On one hand, we're going to have to cast it for 3 mana some of the time, because we don't have that many dinosaurs. It's not like the dinosaur deck we talked about yesterday, where just everything's a dinosaur. Savage Stomp, always 1 mana. So that's the downside. Sometimes it's going to be a little expensive. The upside is it does put a counter on something, which means 2 counters with our Winding Constrictor, which means it can kind of be this pretty powerful pump spell along with killing one of our opponent's creatures, thanks to the Winding Constrictor synergy. So a nice like fringe synergy there. Otherwise, Fatal Push for the early game stuff, a couple of Vraska's Contempt when you just really gotta kill anything at instant speed and gain a bit of life along the way. The rest of the deck, just a couple of Blossoming Defenses to keep our stuff alive, force through a bit of damage. Mana base, pretty simple. 4 Blooming Marshes, 2 Evolving Wilds, and a ton of basic lands. As far as the sideboard, for more controlling matchups, we get Duress to pick sweepers and planeswalkers and removal spells out of our opponent's hand. Gonti, good value play, kind of get the 2-for-1 action since we can cast the card that we exile with it. And then Lifecrafter's Bestiary is a great way for a deck like this that doesn't really have a lot of card advantage to fight through a bunch of removal and sweepers, drawing extra cards, even just scrying every turn is pretty helpful. So really good in attrition-y, mid-rangey control matchups where there's a lot of removal at play. Aethersphere Harvester, really helpful against aggro, great sideboard card against like Ramanant Bread. Sky Sovereign gives us a bit more removal and another huge flying threat. Then we have some more removal of our own. Vraska's Contempt, Planeswalker matchups primarily, and Yahani's Expertise, good at sweeping away the board against Ramanant Bread, against Whirler Virtuoso tokens, things like that. And that is Dinos and Snakes for Standard, and that's our instant deck tech for today. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.